Hello good people! This video is going to be a little bit of a rant video, a little bit of a discussion. Basically it's going to be me talking to you guys about Apple, some of their products, and the decisions that they make as a company, and why they make them. Alright guys, so the first thing I'm going to be talking about is the iPods, specifically the iPod Nano and the iPod Touch. So at the last Apple event, the Nano got a huge bunch of upgrades: video camera, FM transmitter, voice recorder, and a lot of people were confused as to why the Nano got it as opposed to the iPod Touch, specifically the camera. Well, the iPod Nano is Apple's top-selling iPod. The general public, when they go to the Apple Store for an iPod, they are getting the Nano because they don't have a lot of songs, so they don't need the classic. The iPod shuffles a little bit too small and hard to control at times, so that doesn't appeal to anyone. And the iPod Touch can be too expensive, and they don't necessarily want the apps or anything like that. They just want music. So that's why the iPod Nano is the top-selling iPod. Now, the new features that Apple put in is going to make a normal person go, wow, this is amazing, I want this iPod even more. And the general public that are buying these iPod Nanos aren't people like you and me. They're not informed about Apple, they don't know anything what the company's doing, they don't even know about these Apple events. They just know that there's a new iPod out and that they want it because of the features. So that's Apple's reasoning behind adding the new features. Now specifically with the video camera, a couple people were complaining that it doesn't take pictures and that the position of the camera is a flaw or a mistake. I can tell you that the reason why it doesn't take pictures is because the hardware needed for a camera to take pictures is too big to fit into the iPod Nano. Now, you may be thinking, oh, but a video camera is, I guess, can do more, it's more powerful, shouldn't that use more hardware than pictures? It should, but it doesn't. The hardware needed for a video camera is smaller than the hardware needed to take pictures. So that's why Apple is only giving us a video camera as opposed to pictures. Now with the position of the camera, I don't think it's a flaw. I think Apple put it in a, I guess, a little bit of an uncomfortable position to hold the iPod in because of the other hardware inside the Nano. Now, people at Apple aren't idiots. They know what's comfortable, they know what's going to work best. And I can guarantee you that the reason why the camera is in the lower left, I think it is, or lower right, depending on how you're looking at it, as opposed to the top left or top right, is because the other hardware inside the Nano conflicts with the video camera. So that's why the positioning is a little, I guess, bizarre to hold. Now, the iPod Touch. A lot of people were upset or disappointed that the iPod Touch didn't get a camera, because we were all hoping for this. This is what, all the rumor sites said. But actually, I was reading an interview with Steve Jobs after the Apple event, Steve Jobs in the New York Times, and I'll put a link to that in the right. Jobs said that we're trying to market the iPod Touch as a gaming device. Now, what Apple is trying to do is, because they have this gaming device, they're not quite worried about adding new features yet. They are more worried about getting the price down. That magic $199 price that Steve Jobs was talking about during the keynote? Apple is concerned with getting it down to that price, as opposed to adding new features. Once the iPod Touch is, I guess, comfortable at that $199 price, then they'll start to roll out the new features. And it may be even possible that we get an iPod Touch with the camera by the end of this year. I mean, some of the rumors said that they were just having some functional problems, but that could easily be fixed up in a month or two. Maybe in January they'll roll out a new iPod Touch with the camera. We'll just have to wait and see. And also a little bit, people, I just said this, were disappointed that the iPod Touch really didn't get an upgrade, they just got a hardware upgrade. And, we kind of could have guessed this ourselves, because the iPhone didn't get too much of an upgrade either. They just got the 3.0 software gave them the ability to film videos, and a bunch of other minor stuff. But generally, it was just a hardware update to make it go faster. And, the iPod Touch got the same thing, and they actually rolled out a 64GB. So that's kind of the bit about the iPod Touch. But actually, I have a theory that the FM transmitters that were printed to the iPod Nanos will eventually make its way out to all the iPods. I see that as a feature that Apple will be adding into the iPods. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was the Apple TV and the iTunes Store. I think iTunes 9 was a fantastic upgrade, definitely improved from iTunes 8. One of the things I didn't like in iTunes 9 is that if you're viewing your music in grid mode, the background is white. I liked it better when it was black, but that's just me personally. I think the Apple TV is kind of a dead product of Apple. It's not getting any upgrades. It's not being, I guess, redone. Apple doesn't show any sign of them doing anything like amazing to the Apple TV. I think the Apple TV is a good product, but I think Apple needs to drop the prices of movies and TV shows in the iTunes Store. I think if they did that, more people would buy movies and TV shows, and more people would want to watch it on their TV, so then they would go out and buy the Apple TV. So I think that's something that Apple needs to do if they want to bump up the sales of the Apple TV. And I think maybe the Apple TV could use a brand new feature. I don't know what that feature is. Only Apple can tell us. If you guys have a suggestion, leave a comment below telling me what you guys think the Apple TV needs, because I'm kind of curious what you guys think. But I think, I'm just going to reiterate, the iTunes Store dropped the prices of movies and TV shows, more people would buy the Apple TV. So, a rumor towards the beginning of the summer, it's not really so much of a rumor now, was the possibility of Apple coming out with a netbook. For me, I don't think Apple will ever come out with a netbook. And the reason why I think it won't come out with a netbook is because of iLife 09. iLife 09 is one of the main features that sets Mac OS X apart from Windows. And if you remove iLife from Mac OS X, I guess the scale kind of becomes more balanced with what's better between Windows and Mac. So I think the reason why Apple won't come out with a netbook is iLife 09. Another rumor for Apple in the hardware department was a tablet. And I'm not really too sure about this, because if I can remember correctly, Apple didn't give us any reason to think that there would be a tablet. At least not that I can remember. I think it was just that the rumor sites put out, possibility of an Apple tablet. And because a rumor site reports it, generally we tend to think it's true. But I don't think we can think it's true, because Apple hasn't given us any reason to think that they're coming out with a tablet. If Apple did give us a hint, and maybe I just can't remember it, also leave a comment below letting me know. But I don't think we have any reason to think that there's a tablet. Apple hasn't given us any sort of hint or anything like that to tell us, we might be coming out with a netbook. They just haven't. It's just been rumor sites, and we've just been believing the rumors. And we can't always do that because they're called rumors. They're not always the truth. And just a little bit about Snow Leopard now. Snow Leopard, for me, wasn't really a necessary upgrade. I haven't seen any performance on my computer at all. I think I got about 8 or 7 gigs back from Snow Leopard, but I quickly filled that up with, an application here or two, and all these movies that I've been filming. So, and also Safari is slower and more laggy for me than it was before. So, Snow Leopard, not thinking it's the best upgrade, for me at least. Maybe a better upgrade for maybe one of you guys out there who use the expose mode or viewing a lot of PDFs, or don't like the dock to be filled up with a bunch of windows so you hide it in the application in the dock. But for me, Snow Leopard, it's nice to stay current, but I'm glad that it wasn't too much money, because I may have been really disappointed. And now I wanted to finish up the video by just talking about Apple as a whole, as a company, and the stuff they've done throughout the year. So this year definitely seemed like a refinement year. They took all their products and they refined them. In Macworld, they refined iLife 09. In the first Apple event, they refined the iPhone OS, coming out with the 3.0 version. In WWDC, they improved Mac OS X with Snow Leopard, and in the second event, they refined the iPod Touches. Why did they do this? I don't really know. I have two possibilities, though. One, it could be that, their leader, Steve Jobs, was out for half the year, and because he's the top man when he's on a leave of absence, you can't really make big decisions without him. So, I forget who it was, David, or something Cook, took control of Apple while he was gone, and I don't think he can necessarily make these big decisions like, yes, we're rolling out with this new product and this new product, without Steve Jobs' approval. My second thing is that Apple may be going in a new direction. Now, Apple can't woo us every single year with new products and new features, so they may be going in a direction that says, alright, every other year, after we roll out a new product or a new feature or something like that, we're going to work on refining that. So, 2008, they gave us new products, and now in 2009, they're refining the products, and then in 2010, we'll be getting newer products. One thing that I did like that Apple did this year, really liked, was that they took notice that we were in a recession, and they lowered the prices of their products. Although they only lowered the prices of their big products, their computers. But Apple has, smaller products that they need to drop the price of, like the Apple headphones. Those are $30 each. I realize that it does have a mic and a little control system, but I think they need to drop that down to like $15, and I think a lot more people would buy their headphones instead of picking up like a $15 pair or $10 pair from like Radio Shack or something like that. Also, the universal dock. It's $50, and all you're paying for is a dock with a bunch of adapters, and you don't even need the adapters. You can take the adapters out and just use the dock part. I think Apple needs to drop the price of that down to like $30 or $20 or $15. Just give you the dock. That's what you really need. The wireless Mighty Mouse and the wireless keyboard, $60 each. I know they're Bluetooth, but that's a little expensive for me to buy right now in this recession. I think they need to drop that down to like $40 each, and I think if they can drop the prices of their lower products, a lot more people would buy them. So, my overall thoughts about Apple, and kind of our relationship to them, is that it's a chess match. The old saying in chess is you need to stay a step ahead of your opponents. And that's what Apple is doing. Just as we think that we're catching up to them and we know what their plan is and what the next product is going to roll out, they make a move that throws us off, and then we're back at square one. We have no idea what Apple is doing, and now we have to figure it out, and now we're playing catch up. And Apple already knows what they're doing a year from now. They know what the next features in iLife are going to be. They know what's going to happen with the iPhone OS 3.2. They know what's going to happen with the next line of iPods. I remember I saw a picture back in May, I think it was, May or April, on Mac Rumors, and it was a picture of the iPod Nano with the camera that they just released last week. Apple knows what they're going to do. Apple is a step ahead of us. So that's why I say it's like a chess match. And I guess the bottom lining question is, what's next? And the truthful answer is, only they know.